Thank you. Namaste. It is an honor to stand before you today as we gather to launch the report, Innovation for Impact, Indian Startups Driving Climate Action. This report is the culmination of dedicated research and collaboration. I'm thrilled to see the fruit of our collective effort. At MUFG, we are committed to making a meaningful impact on society, and today's launch is a testament to that commitment. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all our partners, stakeholders, and of course, the IIMA Ventures team and the brilliant minds behind the startups that are pioneering change in the climate tech sector here in India. Your work inspires us, and we are proud to support you. This report is not just a document. It is a roadmap for the future. It offers a comprehensive analysis of India's climate tech startups landscape, highlighting the challenges, opportunities, and innovative solutions that are emerging across the country. This report highlights the vital role that startups play in addressing climate change, and it provides valuable insights into how we can collectively accelerate progress toward a greener, more sustainable future. India needs substantial climate financing. An estimated $10.1 trillion will be required to move the country to net zero by 2070. There is a growing demand for renewable energy, hydrogen, electrical vehicles, etc. I'm happy to share that MUFG is playing a leading role in mobilizing debt financing towards renewable energy projects in India. At MUFG, we have always believed in the power of responsible investment. Our commitment to ESG principles is at the heart of our business strategy. We recognize that the future of finance is green, and we are dedicated to supporting initiatives that drive sustainable growth. Through our CSR efforts, we have made it a priority to fund and mentor climate tech startups that are leading the way in innovation. The startups highlighted in this report are developing technologies that have the potential to transform industries, reduce carbon footprints, and create new economic opportunities. These entrepreneurs are proving that sustainability and profitability are not mutually exclusive, but are in fact intertwined. As we move forward, MUFG remains firm in our commitment to supporting climate tech innovations. We will continue to identify, fund, and collaborate with startups that share our vision for a greener future. Collaboration is pivotal for the future of the climate tech industry. Our investments in startups has helped us enter new sectors to serve our clients. We have made 14 ESG investments over the span of 4 years between 2021 and 2024 in India and other parts of the world. We are eager to do more. Our journey is just beginning, and we look forward to making even greater strides together. In closing, I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you for your continued support and partnership. Together, we can turn the insights from this report into actionable strategies that will make a real difference. The launch of this report is not the end, but rather the beginning of a new chapter in a shared quest for a sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Senoo. Next, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Kunal Upadhyay, co-founder of IIMA Ventures and Infuse Ventures, to the stage. Kunal has been a pivotal figure in supporting and scaling climate tech innovations, and his leadership continues to inspire impactful change in this space. Please join me in welcoming Kunal as he takes the stage to share his insights.
Thank you so much, Supriya, and the IIMA Ventures team and MUFG team for organizing this. Senoo-san, it's been a pleasure, honestly, working with you and the team. And this is a topic which is very close to my heart, and I am really fortunate that we've had this opportunity to collaborate on this. We've been, just like what we heard, and it's been a fortune to hear from the OGs. All of you do understand the word original gangsters of climate tech, whether it is the corporates, whether it is money, and many more who'd come during the conversations today. But great to be hearing from the original gangsters of the climate space in India. Climate, over the last 2 decades that I've been very closely tracking, it goes through this ups and downs. We briefly touched upon that. Alokji and Selva touched upon how it was CDM, it became clean tech, it becomes green tech, it becomes climate change. The name keeps on changing, but newer stuff keeps coming in. What's very interesting is, while I've seen this climate sinusoidal wave over the last 20 odd years, the current wave seems more real than ever before. Because what we are hearing from the customers, whether it is MUFG, whether we are hearing from large corporates, whether it is Hinduja Group, Aditya Birla Group, everyone seems to be feeling the need to act. And this need to act is possibly much larger in India versus anywhere else in the world. India as a country is massively vulnerable to climate impact, climate threat. And for India to meet its economic requirements, economic growth requirement, it needs to scale, but it needs to scale sustainably. And therefore, India is very uniquely poised to actually become the global hub of climate innovations. Whether it is the technology talent that exists here, huge amount of R&D infrastructure which has been set in the country over the last 5 odd decades, if we can bring all these pieces together and create solutions, we will have the ability to create these solutions which will not just be relevant for India, but relevant across the world. Unfortunately, climate again can be talked about in 2 parts, as all of you know, the climate mitigation aspect of climate and the climate resilience or climate adaptation element of climate. If we look at climate as a problem in itself, it is a physical problem. It's not a digital problem. It's a problem of atoms and molecules rather than bits and bytes. So many of these problems will require hardware solutions to be created. Many of these solutions will need strong amount of R&D to go into creation of the solutions. This cannot be done just sitting on your computer and solving these problems. Yes, you can build climate tech digital solutions sitting in your lab. And I loved, Mani, as always, the aspect that you brought about, that this is not pure Uberization. In India, solutions, and I mean, this has again been 2 decades of learning of investing in early stage startups in India. I'm digressing. But if you look at India as a country, you can't sell a software. You cannot build a business which is a pure software business. Yes, I mean, some of you will find this provocative. You'll come back and say that, hey, Zoho has been created. Someone will say Tally has been created. But if you really look at it, most of these solutions that have been created have found in India, software solutions have had to eventually go after the global market, including many of the climate tech digital solutions that are getting created in India are having to go after large markets that exist elsewhere in the world versus in India. But if we really want to solve the climate problem in the Indian context, you need to actually create full stack businesses. Now, I mean, just like what, Mani, you've been able to do, you can't just create point solutions through a software. You have to actually go in deep, roll up your sleeves, build a full stack business. You are taking execution risk. All great businesses, especially in the climate space that will get created in India, will actually be full stack businesses which will really revolutionize how things were done hitherto. I mean, whether you take it in the waste management space, whether you take it in the solar space, whether you take it in the wind space, you'll have to build full stack solutions to actually capture the value out of the Indian market. What has been very interesting to me in the last decade and a half or so is I still recollect, and I don't know what year this was, maybe this was 2010 or 12. MIT actually published a very interesting report. It was by a group called MIT Energy Initiative, and they actually looked at performance of climate startups across the world. And they came out with an analysis saying that climate is not something that VC should invest in. Of course, I mean, this was not climate back then. This used to be called clean tech back then. And it's a very interesting report. I mean, if any of you guys are interested, go back and read the report. At that point in time, there were big investors, Khosla and KPCB, and all the big names were investing in climate. Everyone burnt their hands and fingers and bodies and whatnot doing climate investing. And 10 years later, climate is the hottest topic. I mean, not just because of the heat of the climate change, but it has become the hottest investment trend. I mean, I still recall reading some data from last 2 years where climate came across as the most resilient sector. Where no one was investing, everyone was beginning to invest in the climate space. I don't want to quote the name of a very large VC fund in India who had back in 2012-13 had a conversation with me and told me, hey, we invest in everything other than climate. And the investor is very actively investing in the climate space in India. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are an innovator, there has never been a better time to be a climate entrepreneur than it is today. However, I must say this, or you must take it with a bag full of salt, because as Mani was pointing out, these are not easy businesses to build. You cannot build sitting in your lab. You can't build this business sitting in your or whatever bedroom and doing some coding. This actually requires you to go and understand what the customer wants. You need to go and spend significant amount of time in what the status quo is, trying to understand what needs to be disrupted. And everything around us, I mean, whether it is this wooden table, whether it is this plastic speaker, whether it is this dais, this chair, every product is going to eventually adopt a sustainable, I'm just flashing these shoes which are moving away from use of leather and using more eco-friendly. So every product is going to go through a massive revolution of sustainability. I mean, Mani, one of the questions that I had for you was, do you fear plastic being eliminated completely? I mean, 10 years later, you don't know. I mean, the innovators out here are doing so much of innovation, interesting stuff being created. However, please don't get carried away. I mean, while there are a lot of VCs who are willing to put in money, and glad that you didn't take real VC money, the VC life term is typically a 10-year, 12-year period. Very often, the climate entrepreneurs will require a much longer gestation period. The climate entrepreneurs will require you, you guys will have to go through multiple experiments. You may not find the series or the next round of investor coming in very easily for your venture. We've had enough examples of great success stories coming out in the climate space. Mani is an example. He's talked about it. I mean, one of our portfolio company, for example, is a company called Fourth Partner, which did phenomenal amount of work in the rooftop solar space. We put in $1 million check in the company, and there was no investors who were willing to write the next check. The next check that they raised was a $70 million check, which came in from the private equity investors. So many of these climate models will not necessarily always fit a VC's 10-year or 12-year life cycle. And therefore, you need to think of building businesses which will be robust, independent of VC money, scale these businesses in a much more profitable manner. The regular power law, and many of you guys would be aware of power law in a VC's thought process, which is maybe 20% of your companies will deliver 80% of the returns that you will generate, a Pareto principle equivalent. Many of these things may not apply to your climate venture, and therefore think of your climate venture in a very different way versus a regular digital business or a regular business is typically thought of. We've had significant amount of learnings in the climate space. We were one of the original investors in the climate space. Lot of war stories that we are very happy to share with many of you guys. Some of this learning has also been published in this report. But if any of you guys are interested in learning more, please do come back to us, and happy to share some of our learnings from there. The success of climate as a space not just resides with you guys as the entrepreneurs, but it resides with all of us as consumers. Unless we decide to really make an impact, and at times the climate solutions or these eco-friendly solutions will end up being slightly more expensive versus the regular solutions to begin with. I mean, take the example of solar. It was higher than what the grid price was. If you take it electric vehicles, they are higher than what the IC engine vehicle would be. So many of these solutions will begin at a price point which is going to be slightly higher than what the status quo was. It is upon us as consumers to adopt these solutions at a scale. The moment you adopt these solutions at a scale, and solar is a case in point, or EVs will be a case in point, the moment the adoption is happening at a scale, the economies of scale will come into play, the prices will come down, and I mean, solar story is unbelievable. I mean, what has happened across the world in the last decade and a half, we need to make that magic happen across different segments. Unfortunately, it will not happen if you leave it to a quote-unquote dumb market to determine. It is the smarter people like us, it is the early adopters like us who will have to actually start adopting these solutions. And it is a matter of time that this change will happen. And I am very hopeful. See, take the example of China. China did extremely well by becoming the manufacturing hub, for example, of photovoltaic, LED, LCDs, many of these solutions, China really became the hub. I think India has the same opportunity, just like we leverage the opportunity in the software space. We have the exact same opportunity in the climate space. Can we become the global hub of innovations in the climate space? Produce these innovations in India, take them out. If we can't produce, and I was having some conversation earlier in the day with a few people, many of these technologies may have gotten developed elsewhere in the world. They may be sitting in laboratories in a University of Tokyo, for example. Can we actually license these technologies, bring them to India, manufacture them at scale, do the reverse innovation, which, and this is not reverse engineering, this is reverse innovation, which is you making it more frugal and then taking it back to the global market. I think phenomenal opportunity that exists for us to license these technologies. So many of these opportunities exist. The investors exist. The consumers are ready. The large corporates are ready. There has never been a better time.